Welcome to Take the Helm podcast, where we will share stories, experiences, data, and best practices with industry leaders, friends, and dealers. From market conditions to insights, leadership development to tough conversations, take the helm.
Hey everybody, John Green here with LeadHelm once again. And you know I always lead these things off with I am really excited, because I always am excited. But I'm fired up particularly today for two reasons, right? One, we get to talk about selling more vehicles and making more money. And that makes everybody happy, gets us going. That's why we get up every day. So we're going to talk about that, using data to help that. But the other one, and I didn't even realize it till my man Jay just got on the screen here with me. For those of you that are listening to this, you are missing it. For those of you that are seeing it, you can validate this. This is two of the biggest heads of hair in the industry right here on your screen right now, right? Normally people comment on mine, and Jay got on there. I'm like, dude, I'm jealous, right? I gotta get a little more lift out of mine just to compete. But anyway, we like to have a good time while we're on here, right? If you're not having a good time while you're working, you're probably doing something a little bit wrong. So we try to have a little fun and keep things light, but also really important. Right. So today's topic is all about KPIs, right? Key performance indicators, key business indicators. We like a KPI instead. And we'll talk about a few of the metrics, but what we're really going to do is we're going to talk about how do we use that data to drive business, right? Because that's what it's all about. Data is one thing. How do you interpret it? How do you analyze it? How do you leverage it to make changes operationally so we end up with better results? So that is going to be very cool. And as I mentioned, right, Jason Blankenship is here with me. Jason leads the entire client success and help desk team for LeadHelm. So as soon as customers sign up, Jay takes them, he and his team take them through onboarding, platform training, coaching, user training, all those kinds of things. And we're going to reference a little bit of that today. But Jay, how are you?
Doing well. Happy to be here, and I'm glad that I was able to put a little bit of gel in my hair for you.
Really, I gotta up my game before we do this again. I need to start getting Aaron on there. I mean, he's getting thin up there, so I always look good when he's on there. Anyway, all right. So specifically, when we talk about KPIs, right? We're talking about KPIs as they relate to the digital sales process. Okay. So again, if you've watched any of these before, digital sales process is different than the in-store sales process. If it's different, it needs a different log, ideally, and it's got different steps. So we have different metrics. We're going to talk about those today. So I think one thing, Jason, let's get this kind of out in the open right here, is we toss around these numbers internally, and we're going to reference them below: 40, 70, 30. Okay, and we're going to hit that today. So help everybody understand, what do we mean we're talking about 40, 70, 30? What are those numbers?
Well, those are your best in class or your benchmark performance from your online, business, your doorway. You want a certain percentage of all your inbound customer requests for contact to move forward in the process to set an appointment. And then out of those that set an appointment, you want a certain percentage to actually show up and keep that commitment to come in. And then the last number is the conversion of those numbers, because out of that group that actually walks in your doorway, you want them to buy a unit. And so that benchmark of what you expect out of what you have coming in that digital funnel, that's a good or a very strong performance.
So those would be, if we're looking at that, we want to set appointments with 40% of the leads that come in, the online inquiries. We'd like to set appointments with 40% of those. Of those set, we'd like 70% of those to show up in the dealership. And those that show up, we want to sell to 30 of those. Yeah. Okay. And where do those numbers come from? Right. Some of that, I'm assuming, comes from our work in service and DLP, right? We just didn't pull those out of the air.
Yeah, no, that was, that's all of the metrics that we've tracked for so long. And, it goes in conjunction with just the standard, everybody that has some kind of an online business that tracks those metrics, that is strong performance. Obviously most clients want 100% of the people to inquire to buy something, but that's not true in any business or industry. And so these numbers are really that, like, if you're doing the job right, those numbers will indicate, solid performance.
Okay. No, that's great. And do you have a feel for when we first start, LeadHelm first starts working with dealers or talking to dealers, or we do these digital sales process assessments? Any ballpark on where dealers typically perform relative to those benchmarks?
I think there's probably two sides of the coin. There's those clients that do have maybe a structure. They have a person dedicated to this, and they have some kind of a strategy to follow up with their online leads. Then you have the other side of the coin that they really don't. They're looking for a way to develop that side of their business to start an online follow-up practice. And those dealers or those clients don't have the same focus yet. And a lot of them are coming, to LeadHelm to give them that ground base level to start at.
Okay. Now that makes sense, right? It typically, like in any sales environment, right? If we've got a process, we're paying attention to it, we're measuring it, we're managing to it, we're typically going to see better performance. The same thing holds true for digital. And I think just as a quick reminder, why we focus solely in this area and exclusively in this area, not just the software that we offer, but the coaching that we provide, is because 95% of your traffic, 95% of the people who eventually come into your dealership start their journey online, right? So this is the first opportunity that we have to engage them and to start to kind of influence their journey that way and earn their business. So the better we are at this stuff, right? The better we do at the front end, the more it's going to come out the back end. So,
absolutely. And I think just over the last 5 years, especially, the importance of a digital process has quadrupled. I mean, COVID alone pushed so many consumers to online because there's just nobody, you couldn't walk in a place physically. And 5 years to 10 years ago, I mean, it's drastically different.
Totally different. And during that COVID time, I think two things, right? You're dead on with COVID. And COVID lasted long enough that doing a lot of work online, shopping, research, that became habit for people, right? We were in that time so long, it's habit. So people are going to do that. We have that, and we have the generational change, right? Where your age, Chrissy's on here supporting us on the producer side of this, and she's even a different age bracket. And we've got some people that the idea of, walking into a store before I go online is completely foreign. So this continues to be important, and I think it will continue to grow in importance going forward. So good call there. So the way that let's run this for those of you listening, watching, either one. We offer our clients a monthly performance review. Okay. Some of them take us up on that. Some don't. That's okay. But we're not going to name any names in this, but Jason and I had an opportunity a few weeks ago to do a review with a dealer. Okay. So we had the dealer, we had general managers on there and so forth. We kind of use some of their numbers and some of the discussion to give you an idea about how you use this data to move, right, operation. How do I change behavior? How do I change process to actually get better results? So we had a dealer, and we have targets, what we said earlier, 40, 70, 30. Their group, for that month was at 37. So 37% of their leads they set appointments with. 82% of those appointments were kept. So above benchmark on that one. That's a great job. And their delivery was at 25. So 37, 82, 25. Really strong performance. But I think we identified, as did they, a couple opportunity areas, right? And we took a good hour and we discussed those. So the one that they asked about that we really hit on, and we'll talk through this one a little bit right now, is their set percentage. They're like, okay, if we're at 37, how do I get up to 40? Because for them, over 80% of the people keep their appointments. So every set appointment they have is almost a guaranteed physical person in the showroom, right? So we're like, all right, let's help with that. So what are some of the things that we discuss, or you really work all the time with dealers on? How do we drive set numbers up?
Well, and then I think it's key to also point out that the client that we worked with, this was a group that gets a high number of leads. So there was a lot of opportunity. It's
True.
not like someone or a client that might have, a low lead volume. Like they are very healthy in that. So they have a lot of opportunities. They're having very strong follow up and engagement with their customers, and they're moving them forward in a sales process. So they do very well in a lot of areas. But like you said, there's always room for improvement, coaching, and ways to get better.
Yeah.
One of the things like you touched on was setting more appointments, and that's where really, and when you break it down, and I wish every client would take advantage of these sessions to look at their overall performance with us, because I think a lot of clients could take away these same key little notes. Is you want to always try to get more out of your funnel. There's always those opportunities where customers have not engaged with their internal salesperson yet, or they haven't gotten something out of that follow-up yet, and you can't give up. And you also have the ability to, when you do make contact, a customer may not be in a buying cycle right now, but keeping them contacted and warm and talking to them so that when they are ready to pull the trigger, they don't go somewhere else. And those opportunities are always there for every client or every dealer to look at. It's how are they following up with them? How are they maintaining them in some kind of a follow-up process so that they don't fall through the cracks?
Yeah. And I think I'm going to kick this back to you for a minute. I'll give you a good term because you used this the other day. I really liked it. The first thing obviously is response time, right? We need to know when the lead comes in, and we need to get to it quickly. Okay? We firmly believe speed to lead. Whoever gets there first, whoever gets there best, and whoever stays there longest is typically going to win that appointment. So let's be on them quick. Okay. And if they engage with us right away, then let's stay in that. That's not easy, but that's easier, right? When a customer's there with you and we can continue to go back and forth, it's fine. But at sometimes the customer kind of goes quiet. They got busy, they got distracted, whatever the case is. And you talked a lot about cadence and content, right? When somebody's not responsive, and maybe elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the first key, you're right, is the response time. The quicker you can get engaged with somebody, the more likely they're going to respond to you. Another kind of metric that we've tracked, from our DLP service follow-up days was that being under 10 minutes, and the sweet spot is a 5 minutes response time, is where you want to be. Because going back to the online shopping behaviors, most customers are touching or reaching out to multiple dealers at the same time. It's not just I'm going to work with my hometown dealer. I'm also going to hit the city over or the next city over, and I'm going to see who wants to talk to me first. So the quicker you can talk to them, the more likely you are to get them engaged with you. And then as far as the follow-up and the cadence and the content, it's easy to reach out and say, when do you want to come in? Or what can I do to help you today? It's when they don't answer that question, what do you do? What do you have to say? What builds value in your specific location or your unit or what you have going on? So maintaining a standardized process of how often you're reaching out and what you're saying. Like, it's very important to stand out, because anybody can just ask for an appointment. But, sending the customer a walk around video of the bike they're interested in or the unit they're interested in, sending them information about promotions, charity stuff, anything that might build value to get that customer interested to coming to your location. That content is what a bunch of the industry is not sending out. It's, the digital doorways focus is not as strong as the people walking in their showroom. And it's really nowadays, they are equally as important, if not more so, for your online focus.
Yeah. So a couple things in there, right? Video. We as humans today consume amazing amounts of video everywhere you look. Anything on, right? If you're a TikTok fan, if you're a Facebook Reels fan, or whatever else is out there for video, small snippets of stuff, easy to consume. And there's motion and emotion and so forth in video that we can't just get across in a text or call like that. So love the video thing. And if anybody listened to, I did one of these a bit ago with Thomas Manning, who's one of the partners, one of the principals at Star Performance Marketing. They work with a bunch of automotive dealers and a lot of Harley dealers, some marine dealerships and so forth. And Thomas always talks about mind share, right? Mind share equals market share. And what you're talking about, even if the consumer's quiet, if we keep on a cadence or a schedule and we're putting interesting content in front of them with a lot of video, at least we're front of mind. So when they do want to re-engage either the research facet of what they're doing online, or they start to shift into the buying mode, they're going to think about us first, right? So I think those are cadence and content are huge on that. And again, you said it. It's easy to say, hey, when can you come in? Do you want to set an appointment? But sometimes we forget that we've got to build relationships online just like we do in the store, right? We need to know why that vehicle, who do you go with, when do you go with, what's the most fun, all those things to try to build a relationship. We start to get some trust, then we can start to build value in the dealership and in the product. Now we've got a customer that's looking forward to an appointment, right? Instead of one that we're just saying, when can you come in, when can you come in, when can you come in? So I think that's
exactly. I can buy a TV online with never setting foot in a dealership and trying to, or a business. But if I wanted to make a major purchase, like any kind of a unit or vehicle with all the different options, the value of that in-person visit is huge. But what's going to make me come in? Just because you have one and the color I like isn't enough. You have to build some trust with the customer that you're going to treat them with the way they want to be treated. You'll be open, honest, and cover all their questions. And building that value online is harder because they're not just going to walk in the door, and if they're a drive away.
No, I think that's right. And those, it's interesting that the better we do at what we just talked about to set, it's going to drive the kept, because now there's value, right? You need to bring your trade in. Come meet your new family, right? Come meet the sales manager. You got to see this thing when the sun hits the paint. You need to sit in it. You need to sit on it. You need to test drive it. Whatever the case is, build value and excitement so they want to come in. Those are important.
Another thing that we noticed, I don't know that we tracked it super close, is that just because someone bought from you in the past nowadays doesn't mean they'll buy from you in the future. That, if you have a customer now, you may not have them tomorrow. So those repeat buyers, they're not going to tell you off of the inquiry, I've bought from you in the past. You have to still earn that relationship. And one thing that I know in working with customers, you pick up on that, by the way you treat them. They'll tell you right off, well, I bought from you guys in the past, and this is why I keep coming back. And it's a relationship you build. And then you find out otherwise. I don't buy from you guys because I used to buy from someone else, but they didn't treat me good enough. They'll leave a dealer because of how they're treated.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's fun to talk about this, right? Because this is a little bit of a side note. Yes, LeadHelm is a software platform, right? And it's exceptional for what it does. But I think sometimes people either don't know or don't realize, so forth, but almost everybody on the LeadHelm team has come out of dealership operations, right? Salespeople, finance people, sales managers, general managers, owners, so forth. When we do these coaching things, we're coming from a position of understanding, of empathy, right? Because look, there's a lot going on in a dealership. There's a lot of plates that you have to spin. So how can we help to organize the data, help align the thinking around what the data tells us, and drive change? And to me, it's some of the most fun work we get to do, right? I love it. Okay, let's jump over now, because the other one that they really wanted to hit on, right? So we talked about what can we do to set more, right? Get to them quick, stay with them a long time, have the cadence, so regular follow-up, and send them interesting things to pique their interest and want to get them to re-engage. Great. The other area they wanted to look at was delivery percentage, right? We target 30. They were at 25, so a little bit of headroom there. And let's talk a little bit about that discussion, right? This is where it comes. This is kind of the turnover, and this is now we're really into retail operations. So what are some of the things that we shared with them on that front?
That it's important to kind of take a brief look back on their kept percentage too, because like you said, setting strong appointments is always, always good. And and the follow-up and the confirmation process to make sure people remember, like we talked about, it's busy, life's busy, things come up, and you want to make sure that when you set that appointment, you remind and confirm it. So getting a lot of people in, you're obviously building the value and they're walking through the door. So now what's the next step? And that's where, a lot of our clients have either a handoff process where the person that they're working with online is not the person that they're going to do the test ride with or the write up on the unit. So you want to be prepared for that. It's going to be real important that a couple of things happen. There's a handoff of that information, because like we said, if we work all this time online with our customers to build the trust, build the relationship, build the value and why it's important to come see us, and then they walk in the door and have to start over, that shoots down the customer experience to below zero. So you want to have a good handoff of what's been talked about: trade information, financing, hot buttons, challenges, objections. You want to get all that transferred over so that the person that is going to work with them when they get there is prepared for and doesn't make the customer start over. It's also real important that, I truly believe in the VIP experience. By going through stuff online and doing all these things, and if I'm going to be treated as a VIP customer, I expect that when I walk in the door, I'm not just getting in line by the person in front of me and waiting my turn. I want to be moved a little bit forward in the process. I'm trying to make it easier on myself and easier on the dealer I want to work with by doing all these steps online. So having that unit that I'm interested in, maybe parked out front of the door, my name on it, it's all clean, it's ready to be test rode, it has fuel in the tank, it's not got a dead battery, making sure all those little things are checked off so that me as a customer, when I'm walking up to the door, there's my name on the unit I'm interested in checking out. It's also probably a good idea to have a comparable model parked right beside it so that you can show the customer options. One of the big things that, in my experience in the dealership and in this world, is most customers still don't buy the unit they inquire on. They don't say get there and they see other things available. You have opportunities to show them something that might fit their needs better. So being prepared for stuff like that. If you don't have an appointment board or something that lists who else coming in for the day, get one. Put my name on top of that appointment board at 9:15 that I'm walking in the door and that you're prepared for me. Again, a VIP experience is going to only help you in converting your appointments. And then that salesperson being ready just to pick it up and roll into the tour of the dealership or the test ride. Don't just sit me down and say, sign here. Like, put me through the opportunity of having a strong, exceptional customer experience. If the online person says they're going to meet my sales manager, I expect him to come out and shake my hand, or her to come out and shake my hand. Those things are all very important for that perception of what the customer is expecting when they walk in.
Yeah. So lots in there, right? And we could do a session just on that, but I think a couple highlights there, right? We need to do everything we can to make this move that the customers will make. They'll go from digital to physical, sometimes back and forth. We need to be prepared to allow them to move from environment to environment pretty much seamlessly. Okay. So again, we have to move information. Okay. In your example, you've got an internet, somebody makes the appointment online, they have a relationship. The appointment's going to be with somebody else. I think it's a great idea if that somebody else is the one that calls, introduces themselves, and confirms the appointment and puts the customer at ease. Yep. I've talked to Billy over there. I know you guys have been working online for a while. He's given me all the information. I know about this. I know about that. I know about your family. I know about the soccer game. All those things. I'm going to be ready for you, right? 9:15 Friday. Sure you know where to park. Now the customer's like, this is awesome, right? Because they do this stuff online because a lot of times they don't like negotiable priced sales processes like we have in most of these segments of where we live. So the more they can do, where they're in control, their own time, their own environment, let them do that. But we just have to pick up when they get there. But yeah, balloons, welcome boards, names on the bikes, all those things, because it wows customers. They love that stuff. And I'll tell you, when we do this right, it's a great customer experience. We get CSI, we get CXI. Those scores come up when we do this the right way. But if we don't, if we drop that ball, We don't transfer trust. We don't transfer information. We're not ready for them. And they show up and they're like, who are you? You're here for who? About what? Done. It's bad, right? So
And it's tough, you obviously want high traffic days, Saturdays, weekends to be appointment setting times, but that can also work against you when your dealership's busy. So having everybody prepared to know, I have John coming in at X time. Please, as much as you prep a customer, make sure you ask for Jason when you get here. You staff still needs to know if they're greeting someone. Hey, I'm here for an appointment. You have to be prepared to kind of, hey, I may not be the one working with you. Let me go get them for you, so that they're not frustrated, because that busy Saturday can inadvertently work against you.
That's true. That's a good point. All right. The other thing that we talked about, particularly with this dealer, right? And I think with dealers who maybe don't have the metrics that are as strong as this dealer, right? We probably spend more time in some of the areas that we just talked about, the set, the kept, getting ready for the appointment, so forth. But these guys, their numbers were pretty good. The other thing we talked about, I think that was of particular interest to the dealer, right? Because big key things right now in the industry, how do I sell more? And how do I either spend less or make sure that I'm spending my money as wisely as I can? Okay, we're just in those times right now, and that's fine. That's always good things to think about, but today it's probably even more important. And so the discussion here was, how many leads are you getting? Okay, and so they get X number of leads. And then what I really challenged them on was, let's try to figure out what's your website traffic number, visitors to your website, and what percentage of those become leads. Okay, because ideally, we want 2.5 or 3% of that traffic to raise their hand and give us some information so we can engage. We've seen that number come down to about 1.5% right now. Okay, so as a dealer, I need to know what that percentage is, and then I have to make a decision. Do I need to invest more to drive traffic? Okay, so SEM spend, that's one way. Or do I need to invest in different or better or more lead capture tools, right? Some of these third-party tools, 700 credit, value my trade. There's a laundry list of those things. Is it website layout? Is it website messaging and so forth? So these are some insights, right? And you can share your thoughts on those. For a dealer, I want to look back. I got to spend money somewhere. I want to make sure I'm spending it in the right place. And the data tells us this.
Yeah, well, I think everything starts with your website layout, making it easy to find. I mean, we've all probably been on a website at some point where it's just hard to find what you're looking for. So starting there is super important. If it's funny when you have those coaching calls or you're looking at stuff with a client and they personally haven't been on their website in who knows how long. So looking at it through a customer's eyes to capitalize and maximize the interest you're getting, you want to make it easy to at least navigate your website, find what they're looking for, make it not so cluttered, or that everything is easy to see. Like you said, if I want to value my trade, I don't want to search for the ability to submit that inquiry with you, put it, bold and up front for me. But also in just knowing what's producing for you. So many clients that we work with are either, unsure or don't check it regularly enough to see what those lead sources are, what are they bringing to the table for them to work on? Because if you have money going out, like you said, on an expense to bring stuff in and it's not producing for you, could that funds be used better in other areas? Then there's so many other different ways nowadays to drive interest. But if it's not being capitalized on, you're not going to get anything out of it.
No. I think that's one of the cool features inside LeadHelm is dealers can see performance by lead source, right? So you have all these different lead sources, the one we've mentioned, plus you've got your own website and you've got OEM leads and so forth that come in. And we can see how many leads and how they perform in terms of set, kept, and delivered. So again, if I'm writing the checks, I want to put my money into those lead sources that are performing the best, and I may pull back on some that aren't performing. And again, that's just good, sound business, but we have to have the data to do that. We have to have the data. Okay, let's pull this together a little bit. We'll try to keep this to right about 30 minutes here. So we've got some benchmarks, right? 40, 70, 30, set, kept, delivered. And I think the first thing for those of you who are watching or listening is, where are you right now? Do you know those numbers? Okay. If you do, good for you. If you're happy, great. If you want to improve them, start thinking about some of the operational insights that we've just shared, right? Because I think that's good stuff. Tried and true stuff. It works. If you don't know those numbers, I'd really encourage you to get a tracking mechanism. What I love for you to sign up for LeadHelm, and we'll do it for you, absolutely. But somehow you need to get a handle on this, because there's too much opportunity at stake, right? The amount of money that we potentially lose as dealers by not handling our leads correctly is significantly more than it costs to invest in technology and training to do it the right way. So I think that's a big piece of it, right? Traffic, leads, set, kept, delivered. Look at it, coach on it. You coach on it. We can coach on it. Any of those other pieces on there. And I don't know, Jason, do you have any final thoughts here? I'm going to let people know where to find us if they need us. But anything else on your radar with your dealers right now that need to call out?
Well, I think a lot of our client base are really focusing on CXI follow-up right now, customers that have purchased, because that's another revenue of inbound leads. If you sell me a unit today and then follow up with me in a couple of weeks to see how I'm liking it, and just ask for a referral, that can get you, more. Every client wants more leads. Use your existing sold customer base as a tool, a reference, a marketing opportunity. And when you don't focus on CXI, you're not going to get those funnels in, because, if I'm happy with my unit and I have friends that ride or in the similar, need, I'm going to tell them to come see John. I'm not going to send them, somewhere else. So CXI is huge. It's also a big focus from the manufacturers. They want that feedback. They're putting, almost like, bonuses on getting good CXI. You get more units, you get better, faster delivery of your units when you're getting new stuff. So I think CXI is a big opportunity that everybody could do better at.
No, that's a really good one. That's a great one for all those reasons, right? OEM, good treatment, better inventory, referrals, right? Referral. It's always easier to sell to somebody that's referred than somebody that's just fresh to the business, because they already come in with some trust. Right? They have a preconceived notion that's positive. Usually customers don't have that. So that's a great point. Great point. All right, everybody. Appreciate your time today. I know everybody is busy out there, but kudos to you if you're taking 30 minutes out of your day to be a student of the business and continue to try to, steel sharpen steel, they say. So the good ones continue to pay attention and get better. And so thank you for joining that. We do appreciate the time. If you want any more information about LeadHelm, leadhelm.com, right there. Very simple. You can sign up for our podcasts. You can sign up for newsletters. You can just request more info. If you want some help with a full assessment of your digital sales process, go online, request one of those. We do those regularly, just so you know where you are. Right? If you don't know where you are, it's hard to know where you can get and where you're going. So we're here for you. Jason, great job, my friend. I appreciate your time today as well. Everybody else, thank you. We're here if you need us, and have a great day. Thanks.
Thank you.